So bench press or push-ups, for most people, they're gonna feel the best kind of between this 30 to 45 degrees kind of off the torso. So you're between here and here. Whatever feels best for you. Usually when you get out here, most people don't tolerate it very well. Shoulder issues, sometimes you see a lot of pec tears from that position. This position, you can press close grip, that's fine too. Just make sure, and this is kind of the problem with a lot of close grip stuff, you don't get good scapular movement with it. We'll cover the scapular movement thing really fast. So for the purposes of this program, when we do bench press, we're gonna try to move the scapula with it. So when we press the weight, bringing the shoulder blades back, pressing the shoulder blades forward. Now, this is a little difficult with bench press when you start going really heavy because you're laying on your shoulder blades. So if you're starting to move like really heavy weights and just the pressure of being on your shoulder blades, it just doesn't feel very comfortable trying to move them. That's kind of where we start getting into, we're lifting quasi pretty heavy weights now. And at this point, as a special matter of technique, because we're lifting heavy, we can alter the movement mechanics a little bit. So when we do our really light presses, so you'll have your heavy sets and then you'll have your lighter sets. Your lighter sets, by all means, especially if you're doing push-ups, it's kind of the benefit of doing push-ups instead of bench press. Push-ups allow the shoulder blades to move pretty freely. You don't have anything, you're not laying on top of them like you are on the bench press. This is why a lot of people, they prefer incline pressing, because incline pressing, same thing. Little more freedom to move the shoulder blades with the movement. So your light stuff, by all means, reach with your shoulders. Reach the shoulder blades forward, pull them back on the way down. When you get into heavy lifting, especially when you start training over 80% of your 1 rep max, you get closer to 90 or more percent. Now we're kind of getting to a place where it's you might not want to move your shoulder blades. You might want to just lock them in place. And then kind of what that does is you're just eliminating one of the, you have these links in the kinetic chain that are all moving, and the one that's probably likely to not move very well because you're literally laying on top of it with really heavy loads is the scapula. So you can just reduce that movement. And that's generally, it's going to be okay for bench press because you're not getting a ton of, especially if you're lifting really heavy with a bench press, it's a lot of times in a powerlifting context. So you're not trying to maximize your range of motion anyway. So a lot of times a regular bench press, for just general development purposes or a push-up, a lot of times you're trying to maximize your range of motion a little bit more. So push-ups, you might even elevate your hands up on something. You're really trying to get really deep with it. So I'll do push-ups with I'll hold on to dumbbells or something a lot of times. And that just allows you to get, so instead of just being here, when you elevate your hands on something, it just allows you to get an extra couple inches of range of motion on it. When you're lifting really heavy for a bench press, you're doing the opposite, especially for powerlifting stuff. You're really puffing your chest out this way, and you're only coming down to here. So what that looks like, instead of doing a push-up, is it's this much range of motion you're giving up because you're trying to lift heavy. So kind of the benefit of the whole point of the scapula moving it is to allow the shoulder this huge range of motion. That's why it has so much range of motion compared to the hip and these other joints in the body, because it's kind of two joints working. So if you're going really heavy on the bench press, you don't really care so much about trying to maximize that range of motion. You're limiting the range of motion anyways. So it's not as important for the scapula to move. All that being said, find that grip that gets you that kind of 30 to 45 degrees that feels comfortable for you. Come here. Now, if we're going light or we're trying to stay in that zone where we can move the scapula comfortably, we're going here, pulling the shoulder blades back, pressing them forward, back, forward. And what that does, it just trains the serratus, and overall, it's just going to contribute to more shoulder health that way. And generally, the closer the grip we go, the more it's going to facilitate us really pushing the shoulders forward, even if they don't retract as much on the bottom. Now, if we're going heavy or we're powerlifting, instead of just kind of keeping our chest flat on the bottom here, we're going to really puff up. We're going to create, I'm not going to get super in the weeds on powerlifting bench press. But in general, you're just trying to create as much stability and tightness throughout your body as possible. You're bringing your shoulder blades back because that's going to limit the range of motion even more. And then you're just coming down, bring your chest up to the bar, press up. So that's all you're looking at for bench press.